Hello, everybody, and welcome to Foxhole Film Podcast. This is Francisco Masso here with Todd Hamilton and our good friend Brad Fierstein.
Hello.
I would say Steen. Did I say that right?
Fierstein.
Yeah. Okay. See, I knew I had it right. Anyway, today's June 13th, and
we usually call him Brad the Effer.
Not to his face, a way to give up the secret.
It was still not to his face. This is over the internet.
Interesting movie, if you guys watched it. Actually, you haven't watched it, Todd, so we can't even really talk about this as a passing.
I prefer not. I mean, the more spoilers you give on it, the more I'll give for Moonrise Kingdom. So, whatever. If you want to play this game, let's play.
We'll go tat for tat.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we'll save until after you watched it. But I think it would be, even though we are most likely not going to review it in this show, it would be good to kind of bring up as a quick little topic to discuss.
I did hear the guy that, I think it's Red Box Media or something, that guy that reviewed all the Star Wars movies, like they're hour-and-a-half long reviews where he like analyzes it and everything.
Oh, wow.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I've heard of it, but I've never seen his reviews.
Yeah, they're actually really good if you can sit there for that long. I guess he just did one for Prometheus, and I don't think it's that crazy long, but everyone online has been talking about how he points out a lot of good things. I don't know if he liked it or not. I didn't watch the review, obviously. But
I'd be interested. I've actually, and that's kind of the reason why I wanted to kind of bring it up is it's been pretty polarizing. On my Facebook page, I have about 50-50. I mean, 50% of the people are like, no, it wasn't good, and then the other 50% are good. And so I'm actually really intrigued. I want to watch it again, so maybe I can go with you whenever you end up going.
Yeah, I'm hoping to go this weekend, ideally, maybe on Saturday or something, but I'll call you.
Very cool.
I don't want to go. You're not inviting me.
All right. We won't invite you.
I'll still call you.
We'll turn on the cell phone during the movie.
Oh, that's a perfect idea.
And we'll probably get kicked out.
Probably. So, jumping into news.
Yes.
I will start, actually, while we're on the topic of Prometheus, the writer Damon Lindelof, who's one of the writers for Lost, and who also was one of the co-writers for Prometheus itself, has been asked to rewrite the screenplay for World War Z, which actually has been in production for a while, and it was almost done. If I recall correctly, they were almost done shooting it if they weren't actually done shooting it.
I think they were wrapped, yeah.
Yeah. Brad Pitt's in it, so it's got some big names attached to it. The fact that they're kind of going back, apparently he's been asked to focus on the third, the last third of the movie, which is, I'm guessing, the way all of this culminates, and they're actually going to have to go back out and do a lot of reshoots. So now the release date, which was originally around Christmas, is going to have to get pushed back about 6 months back. So it's not going to be released now until June, I think, of next year.
Yeah, I do want to point out that this is Paramount, who is actually the same company that delayed G.I. Joe for almost a year after it's been done and wrapped and everything as well. They've changed their mind and want to do some reshoots and re-edits and all this stuff too. So whoever's in charge over at Paramount needs to learn how to make decisions before movies start shooting, and they'll probably save the company a bit of money.
It's actually a really good point, though, because I don't have the article open right now, but I had read another article along the same subject that had mentioned another film also by Paramount that had to be pushed back because of reshoots. So I think you're absolutely right in that they are not necessarily managing their projects as well as they should be.
No, I don't know. I'm a little nervous about World War Z to begin with because I've heard that they've changed the script to be completely different from the book, where it's not a retelling of what happened, but it's actually Brad Pitt kind of going around trying to find the cure as it's happening, or something. I don't know. It sounds like.
Are you familiar with the book, Brad?
No, I've never read it.
Oh, you haven't read it?
You should read it.
Are you familiar with the author?
If I see you in person before you move, I will give it to you, and you can keep it.
Nice guy Todd stepping up to the plate.
I'm partially saying that because I don't think we're going to see each other before you move. But
This is true. This is true.
no, but seriously, we're getting rid of like 90% of our books, and I've already read it. So
it's so much easier to get when you're moving to get rid of books and just have because you have them on your Nook or your Kindle.
Exactly. And now that everything's digital.
Yeah. I was actually just having a discussion the other day about how it's so much easier to move now because back in the day you have your library
CDs,
of books,
DVDs, books, all that stuff's online.
Yeah,
that was one of the things that I wasn't sure how it was like when I very first decided to get a Nook. Because I love handling books, I love having them in my hands, but and I wasn't sure how I was going to like them. But absolutely, you're actually right. I love the fact that I can carry every book with me in just the one Nook. Mm-hmm. Everything's right there. Love it.
It's kind of sad, and I've talked about this with Cisco before, that you could go to someone's house and they would have their books or their DVDs or something on display, and you could go and look and see what they've purchased and what they've read and watched and kind of get an idea of who that person is and what they're into and stuff like that. You can't do that anymore.
Try to turn on the light so you actually can see my face again.
No, it's okay. You can turn it off.
Yeah, please turn it back off. All right, Todd, what's your news?
Well, this is going to be really exciting for you guys. The Snow White and the Huntsman movie that came out a few weeks ago has just been greenlit for a sequel.
Oh, great.
The director has not signed on yet, but he doesn't have anything else coming up anytime soon, so
could have been part of it.
I mean, it has its problems. It's not something that I'm like, oh, it's so amazing, you should go see it. But it was okay. It's probably the best thing that Kristen Stewart has ever done.
The only thing I've ever seen Kristen Stewart in, so I'm going to go ahead and agree with that.
Panic Room. She was in Panic Room.
Something else that was...
You like Panic Room less than this one?
Yes.
You suck. Actually, you know what? I can't say that until I watch it again. I haven't seen it in a very long time, so next week I'll tell you whether or not you suck.
Okay.
She was in something else that was okay.
She was in 13
Twilight.
Too, right? Wasn't she in one of the girls in 13?
She was in Jumper.
That wasn't her?
No.
She was in Jumper?
Yeah, the very, very end, and she didn't really talk, so that's what I liked about it.
Well, then, yeah, that would be good.
She was also in Zathura, that's right.
I didn't see that. She doesn't talk that much in Snow White and the Huntsman, too. Like, she gives this big, epic speech, which is kind of a joke at the end, but for the majority of it, she keeps her mouth pretty shut.
Because she can't act.
And that's for the best.
Yeah. So it looks like that's going to be coming, so keep your eyes out for that.
Exciting? Not really.
Yeah.
And as long as we're talking about I'll jump to my next. This wasn't going to be my next one, but I will make it my next one since we're talking about upcoming films.
I appreciate it.
Darren Aronofsky, one of my favorite filmmakers, contemporary for sure, and all time, I would put him in my top small list. I don't want to give a number because I have a lot of small lists.
Don't commit to anything, dude. Like, this is a public record, and you could get sued if you change your mind.
Hey, I don't want to say top 10 and have it be like top 15. He's definitely up there, though.
I think putting him in your top 10 is pretty safe.
Yeah, Yeah, I mean, you got Christopher Nolan, you got Wong
Here we go.
Kar-wai.
Here comes the list.
All right, never mind. So anyway, he's been working on a film that he's had pretty much close to his heart since he was a kid. From what I understand, his obsession with the Noah and the Ark story, the biblical story, fiction, and news are starting to kind of come out in regards to this film. So casting has been pretty much set. So I wanted to go ahead and kind of mention this. Russell Crowe is not necessarily new. I think he was the very first one that was announced. So this one has actually been out for a while. But he's going to be playing the role of Noah. We know that Liam Neeson has been added in as a significant character. They haven't actually said who he's going to play, but he is going to be in it. We've also heard that Douglas Booth, and this is, by the way, according to Slash Film, Douglas Booth and Logan Lerman are going to be signing on as his kids, so that his two sons. And then as of today, they also announced that Ray Winstone, who is, I don't know if you recall, but he is the older guy in, of course now the movie is slipping. He's a British actor though. He's going to be playing the villain for this movie. Now this is kind of where I get a little thrown off because I didn't know there was a villain.
Well, the villain was everyone else.
Was he in The Departed?
Maybe.
Everyone was in The Departed.
That's true.
It says he was in Hugo. Yeah, The Departed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rango. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there are people that were making fun of him for making a boat, so.
Yeah, but I didn't really think that they were villain. I mean, yeah, I guess.
God killed them with water, so I'd say
so they were obviously.
villainous.
Got it. What movie did I see him in that was?
Came out this summer. John Carter from Mars. That was kind of a pet project that I'd been holding on to for years and years and years.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a couple others that had done where the Sucker Punch was a pet project that he had been working on for years and years. And I had a couple others that had done where the Sucker Punch was a pet project that he had been working on for years and years and years. So I don't know. When they hold on to him for that long, it almost
it becomes difficult to kind of give up some of those elements that may not be working because you're just kind of falling in love with it. And it's actually funny. I tell my students sometimes in classes, just like just get used to kind of tossing away material that you really like. But if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and you just kind of have to go with that.
Yeah, my screenwriter teacher would always say, "Kill your darlings."
Yeah, I actually just saw which movie I was thinking of. He was in The Proposition. I loved him in that movie.
Okay.
Anyway, so I'm pretty excited to see this. Aaron Aronofsky has never Aronofsky has never disappointed me with any film. His worst films are still better than just about everyone else's films.
Didn't he write The Social Network?
No.
Who did that one?
Not him. David Fincher directed it.
Fincher. No.
Yeah, Fincher directed.
I know.
Aronofsky did The
Aaron
Fountain.
Sorkin wrote Social Network.
Who did?
Aaron Sorkin.
Sorkin, that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a good writer too.
Yeah, because he's supposed to be writing the new Steve Jobs film.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I did hear about that.
Now, isn't there another Noah movie that's in the works right now too that Spielberg is attached to or something?
No, it's a Moses. It's a Moses film.
Oh, Moses. Oh, yeah. That's right. Okay.
Yeah. Isn't that?
I don't know all those old Christian prophets.
Isn't that the one that Mel Gibson was all attached to and It was another religious movie like that. It was like Moses or.
Yeah, I knew there were two of something. One of the something from the Old Testament that was
Mhm.
going on. Maybe one of them's been canned at this point. But keeping with the Old Testament, um, Stephen King's It is actually going to be coming out as a movie. A guy named Cary Fukunaga, a director, he did Jane Eyre, which I've heard is really good, actually, the most recent one.
He did another one before that too. That was supposed to be really, really good. Hold on, I'll look him up.
Yeah, you look it up. So, I don't know. People our age, I think, watched the It TV miniseries, and that's really screwed things up for clowns. For people my age, it's rare to find people that like clowns that are, in their mid-30s and younger.
Right.
Because of that movie, partially because of that movie, and
Yeah,
partially because they're just freaky.
that was actually the first 1,000 plus page book that I ever read, and also the first Stephen King book I ever read. So I do like that story. I do think that the ending could have been better in the book, and I did watch the series, and I thought the ending could definitely have been better in the series.
Yeah.
But it was still one of those things that you're like 8 years old, 9 years old when you're watching it, and it does just creep the crap out of you, and it's one of those things where a remake, and we kind of talked about this kind of with RoboCop as well. It does kind of make one nervous as far as how is it going to be or not. The other film that he did is Sin Nombre, which is a film about the Salvadorian teenagers trying to cross into the United States, and the gang members that end up kind of preventing. He's a gang member. He's trying to escape gang life. It's a really powerful film.
You've seen it?
Yeah, I highly recommend it. If you haven't seen it, it's called Sin Nombre.
Okay.
Really good film. Really good film.
Yeah, I hope he takes a little leeway on the ending because I haven't read the book, but the ending of the miniseries, like a lot of Stephen King stuff, it's a little painful. But
yeah, and that's the thing is from what I recall, and I haven't read the book in ages, but that's how a lot of Stephen King endings are. I mean, I remember reading The Stand, and it was the same thing, and Tommyknockers, and it was the same thing. I mean,
I think he just gets bored of the story and is like, I just got to end this so I can move on to these other 5 stories I've thought of while I was writing
that, and he paints himself into very, very, very tight corners without an actual plan. I love the Dark Tower series. I really enjoyed watching it, but he did the same thing there, and so the ending to that, yes, reading. The ending to that series, well, it wasn't horrible. I do think it applies, and it's still a somewhat satisfying ending. I expected more out of that book, and as a whole, as a climax, I expected more than what he actually delivered. So, yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Cool.
My last set of news is actually near and dear to my heart. I am not one for romantic films, but when I am talking about romantic films, I do love the Before Sunrise and Before Sunset series, which are kind of a pet project that Richard Linklater has done with Julie Delpy and Ethan Hawke. And it's a very unique film in that it is incredibly dialogue heavy, and it's basically the first film. Before Sunrise is about young love. It's 2 teenagers, maybe in their 20s, who meet in Europe and essentially have one night together, and that's it. And so it's just that flourishing of love and the attraction and just kind of the it feels very natural, and the way it all pans out. It's a lot of conversations. It's a lot of sitting down and discussing different topics. The second film was before sunrise, and it takes place 10 years later. And it answers the question of whether or not they met and how their lives as they progressed has changed or moved their perspective in life in different directions. And it makes for even more interesting because now you have this more adult perspective from characters that they're allowed to tailor a little bit themselves. So Richard Linklater doesn't really dictate what these characters are doing. They each come in with their own ideas, and they allow that to kind of come out in the film naturally. Well, apparently it's been already 10 years. I didn't realize that. It's actually about 9 years. But so Ethan Hawke actually let out in a recent interview that they will be shooting the next film of that series this summer. So I'm actually incredibly excited because if you watch the second film, the ending is one of those films that just leaves you with bated breath and is like, okay, what happened? I need to know what happened. And so there are answers coming. Be patient.
Cool. I'll have to do a marathon with those.
Yeah, they're good ones.
My final news is Bill Murray. Last we'd heard about Ghostbusters 3. It was dead in the water because Aykroyd had a script and he showed it to Murray, and Murray said it was horrible and he didn't want anything to do with it. And then Aykroyd was like, well, then we'll just do it without him. But then I think the financiers and stuff were like, no, that's not going to happen. So it just kind of disappeared. And then the last time Murray was on Letterman, which is relatively recently, he asked him about Ghostbusters 3. And Bill Murray was like, well, you just got to get a good script. You know, we'll see what happens, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I think we'll try again with a different script. I don't know if I believe him. Like, I want this to happen. I think it would be cool, but I'm in the same boat as Bill Murray. Like, I don't want them to do it just for the sake of doing it. And so if they have a good script and everything, then that would be amazing. Because I agree with them. Ghostbusters 2 was not that great of a movie. So we'll see. We'll see. I think at this point,
maybe. Yeah, no, it's that's such a staple of childhood too, especially for, again, people our generation. Ghostbusters is one of those like elements of childhood that were always there, like G.I. Joe and Transformers, and well, we've seen what those films have come to.
Yes, unfortunately. Yes.
Make me sad inside.
Yeah, a little part of you dies every time you think about it.
Every time. I'm just waiting for them to make an HR Puffin Stuff movie.
Speaking of which, so while we're in this vein, this is not exactly news, but you'd heard that they were doing a Candyland movie, right?
Yeah.
The board game?
Uh-huh.
So okay.
They just announced that they're also going to do a Risk movie, and out today they mentioned that they're going to do a Tonka Truck movie.
What?
I am not kidding. This was, as I was looking for news today, that one came up. I was like, what?
Candyland, Tonka Truck. What is this? Like, I guarantee you all of them will have aliens in it, because just like Battleship did.
Yeah.
Well, the sad thing is there's plenty of good scripts out there that are being overlooked to make this junk.
Yeah. I don't understand why the Battleship movie had to be connected to the Battleship board game. It had virtually nothing to do with it. This World War Z one sounds like it has nothing to do with the book. Like, just make an original film. Why do you have to attach a name to it and then completely change it? Everyone that likes the original is going to be upset, if they hear that it's changed that much. Whereas if you just named it something else, a lot of those people would probably be on board.
What's crazy is, like, over the years, the quality of films have completely deteriorated. Like, I mean, you used to watch the award ceremonies and stuff, and you would be like, I have no idea which was going to win because they were all so amazing. And now you're like, there's been one. You know?
Or you're like, I don't know which one's going to win because they all sucked.
Yeah, I mean, it's horrible now. You can't. There's no winning with it. It's just they're all based off of books.
Yeah.
And, which is a great.
It's fine. Adaptations are fine when they're done right. But yeah,
like,
you're right.
There's nothing original anymore. There's no. I mean,
What's
everything.
rare?
Part of the problem with the Academy Awards, though, is that it always seems like they're trying to catch up for mistakes they did in the past. It seems to me that they're always like, oh, well, we didn't give this guy his award for the movie he deserved it. Now he did this crappy movie, so let's give it to him to make up for it. And as long as they continue that pattern, they're just going to be 3 years behind. So you can just assume that the Academy Awards for this year are for 2 years ago.
Yeah. Like Russell Crowe, for example.
There you go. Or Ang Lee.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think in a few years the MTV Movie Awards are going to surpass the Oscars as being the most legitimate movie award show.
And that'll be a sad day.
That will be a horrible day.
All right.
All right, let's do the movie.
Movies, plural.
Yeah.
Fresh review. We have a 2010 film called Wild Target, and we purposely went out of our depressing, dark genre to make sure that we weren't pigeonholing ourselves in the kind of movies that we present here. But yeah, it's called Wild Target, and it is on streaming, so if you want to watch it, we're going to be doing the fresh review today, and then next week you will be able to hopefully watch it and enjoy the spoiled version of this. It's directed by Jonathan Lynn. It had Bill Nye, Emily Blunt, and Rupert Grint in it. It's a pretty straightforward story. It's a crime. And in the process of it, ends up getting one target whom he has a difficult time killing, and as the process of this assassination ensues, more and more people become involved with it, and hilarity ensues. And I just said ensues twice.
You like that word?
I do. So what do you think of it?
You did?
I didn't see it, dude.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Overall, I liked it. I think it's worth seeing. It's the plot, like you said, the plot's relatively simple. It's more based on the characters and kind of their interactions, their relations with each other. I did find it pretty funny. It's a British comedy, so if you don't like British humor, stay away. But it's kind of subtle in its humor for the most part. But the only complaint I would have is actually Emily Blunt, and I do like Emily Blunt. I like her acting normally. I think in this film, I don't know if it was her or the writing, her character came off a bit inconsistent. And at first, I thought that was because she's a bit of a con artist herself, and I thought she was, playing different characters as part of the con to try and trick different people for different things, and is going to be one of those spy on spy on spy, back and back. It ended up not being that at all. And so by the end of the movie, I was like, well...
I think it was intended to be. I think originally, the first few times she does it, I think it is in that character. And then at some point it breaks down and she becomes a lot more genuine, and you never realize where that transition is. I would agree. That is one of my complaints with this film as well. What is that?
I don't know.
Anyway, I enjoyed this film. I think as a family type film, you can watch this with your family. I don't know that you'd want young kids with it. There is a little bit of violence, and it has some adult themes, but the film itself is fun. It's entertaining. I watched it. I laughed multiple times. It does have funny bits.
Wait.
Yes.
You laughed.
I laughed. And And that is saying something because I am picky with my comedies. But I did enjoy this film.
Hmm.
And I think Bill Nye did a pretty good job with his character. Actually, I really enjoyed Bill Nye in this
He did
role.
fantastic.
I think he did really. And Rupert Grint, which like the moment I
Yeah,
realized
great.
he was in this film, I was like, oh crap. And then
Yeah.
after watching him, I was like, he's got a bit of a spectrum for his acting ability. So I am actually looking more forward to his career than Daniel Radcliffe coming off of the Harry Potter.
Oh, that's right. That's what I was like, Daniel Radcliffe. Why does that name sound familiar?
Yeah, I
Harry.
was surprised when I first saw. I was the same way. I first saw him. The first 5 minutes or so I saw him in the film, I was like, I don't know about this. But by the end of the film, I think he proved himself. He did really good.
Yeah, I
Would
mean,
it
I
be
think
Harry
a
Potter?
lot. Was that?
Would not be Harry Potter.
No, this isn't Harry Potter. This is Rupert Grint. This is his redheaded.
Oh, the redhead guy.
Yeah,
Ron,
yeah.
right? Ron.
Ron Weasley.
Ron, yeah.
Yeah.
But he didn't come
Yeah.
off as Ron.
Well, that's the thing is you see him and he's done 8 films as that character, and
Yeah.
that's all I'd seen him as.
Well, it's just
That's-
like, you know,
So
it's
initially
like
he
you
does.
watch, you see, I don't even know his real name, Zach Morris, in a TV show. You're like, it's Zach Morris.
Michael Paul. Or, Michael? No, what's his name? Paul Gosselaar.
Sure.
Paul,
That's not Michael.
no, Paul. What?
You're the one that watched the episode.
I
No.
I know. It's
Zach Morris.
anyway. You don't have to look it up. Okay.
Mark Paul Gosselaar.
Mark. Okay,
That's what it was.
that was close.
In any case, I think it's testament to Rupert Grint's acting ability, the fact that by the end of the movie, I wasn't seeing him as Ron Weasley. I was seeing him as this character who is actually very enjoyable to watch in this film as well. And even though I do have that crush on Emily Blunt, I do think that she was the weaker side of this. Nevertheless, definitely I would recommend people watch it. It's a fun film. It's a fun film. It's one of those films that you can kind of turn on and you don't necessarily have to focus entirely on it and the plot because it's easy to follow. And so in that sense, if you're looking for something smart, something intelligent, this is probably going to fall subpar.
And what is it called again?
Wild
Wild
Target.
Target.
Wild Target.
Yes, sir. And I think that's about as deep as we can get without really going into details and spoilers.
Yeah, and I mean, just a heads up for next week. I don't know if I have a ton in spoilers that I'm planning on bringing up. I mean,
That's true. That's true.
I don't want to analyze it scene by scene or anything. But
Right.
I mean, we might bring up some minor things.
All right. And then that brings us to our spoiled review. So we talked a little bit about this one last week. This is Melancholia, came out 2011, directed by Lars von Trier, starring Kirsten Dunst, Kiefer Sutherland, Charlotte Gainsbourg. And holy crap, was that a depressing film.
Yeah.
Just as a refresher, I don't know, do you want me to kind of briefly go over what it is?
Sure.
You have a 2-part story seen through 2 sisters' eyes. The first part is seen through the character played by Kirsten Dunst, whose name is, I don't remember, Justine. She suffers from depression, and you're seeing her wedding night. And then you go basically halfway through the movie seeing this relationship with her husband and her sister just kind of devolve in the process of one night as they're being married. I mean, they're just freshly married. And then that ends. And the second part is Claire's side, which is the sister. And you see her relationship with her husband, and then how things have advanced with her sister Justine, under the knowledge that there is this planetary event that's taking place. Essentially, they discovered that there is a planet that is kind of out of orbit or has an intersecting orbit with planet Earth. And scientists are convinced that it's going to be a close call. It's going to come by orbit and swing by real closely. Some people are seeing it kind of as a great once-in-a-lifetime type of event, and then other people are seeing it as an apocalyptic thing. And that kind of pretty much sets the story. So from this point, we can kind of go into spoilers and talk a little bit in more detail, because it does kind of become a really interesting way of looking at this kind of genre.
Yeah, you know, if you go into this movie with the right attitude and a lot of patience, it is worth seeing for its artistic merit, and we kind of mentioned that last week. The difficult part for me, as far as the plot goes, is pretty much no one in this movie is enjoying their life. Like, everyone is depressed and angry and bitter and frustrated and tired and just don't want to be there, really. And then you find out that the world's going to end, and everyone's kind of freaking out about that, except for Justine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's kind of the only one that accepts it, to be like, you know, we're all so screwed up. This world is going to be better off without us on it anyway. And I found that interesting, but there wasn't much of a juxtaposition to anyone that was really enjoying life and seeing this end of days as a truly horrible thing that the audience could say, oh yeah, this is a horrible thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as I was watching the movie, I wasn't emotionally sad that these specific characters were being killed at the end. I was kind of like, well...
That is true. I wasn't completely detached from it. I don't know if maybe... I don't know. I recalled the starting scene of the film, which is where you have Kirsten Dunst's character, Justine, and her new husband in a limo in a drive-through that has a it's a dirt road leading to the mansion which Kiefer Sutherland and Justine's sister live in, and they're having a hard time getting the limo around that corner. And it's just this short scene that kind of sets the stage, but it's actually a very hopeful, bright opening, and so I think I cling to that long enough into the film to kind of be like, even though that was a short film or a short scene, I got enough of it to see some sort of hopefulness in the way that these characters were, that watching them just kind of destroy their relationship became sad. The difficulty I had with this film, and I agree, the two halves together. I thought separately they were really solid. Bringing the two halves together the way that they did felt a little abrupt in the way it was done. I personally don't know how I could have improved that myself. I felt that maybe they allowed a little too much time at the beginning, or too much time elapsed between the beginning and the second half. And then they didn't allude enough to the stellar event, because essentially what happens is as they're going into the mansion, Justine looks up and notices that one star is missing. She'd been looking up and she's like, oh, the red star is missing. And that is it. That is all they give you as far as this grand event that's going to take place.
Well, except for the 8 minutes of slow motion shots at the very, very beginning of the movie that shows it happening.
Except that none of that feels like part of that first half either.
True. It's its own little thing.
Right. Once again, it feels disjointed as far as the way that was tied together. Although, watching that montage, and I'm just trying to figure out what was going on, and then seeing the film evolve, it was so awesome to see how all these beautiful images, sad as they were, came together, and how it all tied together story-wise, because I thought that was really cool. One thing that I liked about this film and felt was very unique is that it treats the post-apocalyptic or the apocalyptic genre in a very personal way, without grandiose special effects, without the
News
world
reports.
panic. And yes, it treats it in a very personal level that I thought did for this kind of genre what Unbreakable did for the superhero genre. It kind of brings a perspective that's so unique that I think that for that by itself, this film is worthwhile.
I do think it's a movie worth watching if you're in the right mood and
Right.
are ready for kind of a slow, disturbing, slightly depressing, very
Slightly. Slightly times 10.
Yeah. But it's good.
All right. So then that brings us, we should have mentioned which movie we're watching next week earlier. But anyway, for those of you that stuck through all of this and are interested in what we're watching for next week, we're going to be looking at Troll Hunter. Once again, it is on your Netflix instant streaming. I don't know
Norwegian
much.
film.
Right, I know it's a foreign film. It's a sci-fi / fantasy action adventure type film. I don't personally know much about it. I've heard good things about it, so I have high expectations of this.
Well, don't get too high.
No, they're high.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
All right.
Good times. Well, thanks for joining us, Brad.
Yeah, I participated hardcore this time.
Well, even with you moving, we're going to continue to be doing these things online like this, so of course we're going to have you back. And
I'll watch the movies next time.
That'll be good. Do you have anything you want to plug? Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah. What?
What about your show that you do?
Yes, you can catch me on my show that I produce. I talk on there too.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit more than here, huh?
I produce a podcast called Nerd Radio. So
it's on iTunes.
On iTunes, it's available on the web. So check us out. Yeah. We've been slow the last few months because we've all been busy with lives, having babies, and moving.
You had a baby?
Picking up the horse again and pushing more episodes out. So.
Like a baby.
What's up?
What?
Huh?
Their show's a little more professional than ours, which isn't saying much. But.
Yeah, I think most shows are.
Not at all. No, it's fun. I love podcasts.
Yeah. No, it's good. It's good times.
You're good. You're good times.
That's what your mom said.
Hey, yo.
All right.
Yay.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys next week.
See ya.
Bye.